Hey there, listener. Welcome to the Deep Share Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Rouse, and for the last couple of decades, I've slowly been opening my eyes to a very different world than the one I grew up hearing about. And the more conversations I have with interesting people, the more mystifying this world becomes. So without further ado, let's get deep.
We've got science to celebrate! Demons bliss out! After what, baby? Come on!
There is rebellion in the wind. It will crush.
Everything I've said is true, it's real.
Dinosaur fossils? God put those here to test our faith.
A damn lie, I saw him with my own eye!
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
We did illusions, man! None of it is true!
I'm not insane!
This is mass madness, you maniacs! In God's name, you people are the real thing! We are the illusion!
Welcome back to the Deep Share Podcast, specifically another Saga talk. And this makes number 4 now. So I don't know if this is an official series or just a convenient title, but we're talking Saga. Dustin's back. How's it going, Dustin?
Hey.
And we also have returning guest, special guest, all the way from overseas, Michel Merle. How's it going, Michel? Nice to see you.
Ho, ho, ho. So we've got hey, and ho, ho, ho. Everything fine, guys.
Happy holidays, man.
Yeah, sure. Same for you.
Yeah, it's been quite a long time. If some of you may remember, Michel was on one of only a few episodes of Roots of Creation with Dan Unaki Dan and Joke Hagstrom. Yeah. I did send Joke a invite to this chat, but he's a very busy man these days. I'm not sure he's not here with us yet, but he will return soon, hopefully.
He will come, but he has a bit of a problem at the moment. Where he is staying is in the very north of Sweden, and there it's about 40 minus, and you have to do 40 degrees Celsius minus, and not Fahrenheit, Celsius. So I don't know how much that is in Fahrenheit, but anyway, shit cold. and snowed in. And he has to do many things and try to get organized. And he said also to me that once he got himself sorted out, he'll be happy to join us.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
You're just happy. Oh, no worries. Yeah.
Yeah, Jacques, this is totally off topic, but he's turned me on to a lot of interesting threads that go on in Sweden, like, big corporations and company names that over here in the West, we don't really often talk about or hear about. And he sent me some long video about how basically all of telecommunications is centered in Sweden. I think it's Ericsson is the company. And nobody really thinks about it. Like, none of these crazy New World Order psyops are even possible without telecommunications. And like, it really gets into that and how prominent and central Scandinavia is still to this day of what's going on underneath everything. It's really wild what he's turned us on to. But anyway, that's for another time.
They do in Sweden, they do Ericsson, and in Finland they do Nokia. So it's like, it's beautiful Nokia. So
I saw that Nokia is they made all kinds of things besides cell phones.
Yeah. It's a company that comes out of a whole bunch of companies that have been existing before. Like they have a cable factory, was one of their departments, and in the very past they have been building the Aswan Dam in Egypt, and they have been doing and housing and building and gun factory in Russia during and after the Russian Revolution time. So out of all these different firms, shipping firm and whatever, this stalled in our time, this Nokia, also building firm who has been helping us, Lemminkainen firm who helped us in the digging, Nakap stuff. They are also part of this whole conglomerate of industry.
I remember reading about that and getting all paranoid, like, oh yeah, the big corporations got involved with the saga and the dig and everything. They
No,
wanted
no
they
problem.
wanted eyes on it, you know. They wanted to make sure
Yeah.
nothing was getting uncovered without their.
No, they created the system for our time, you know. So when we start with to talk or discuss or with a small group of people, we had at the beginning, busy
Mhm.
with the saga, all this machinery, handies and all this stuff was not existing. So we was basically, yeah, well, we were mostly in Finland, of course, and in India, summertime, wintertime, yeah, because all of us hate the winter as the box. So it makes that you basically sit with a bunch of guys, usually around the fire, either in the house in Finland or outside in the Dooney in India, in front of your house in the garden, and we sit there and talk stories. And you then, in that case, have always the nature setting where you sit with one bunch of people, little bit like, oh yeah, the Indians from the past or all the cultures around the planet, of course, all who live like that up to our time when we started with gas heating, electric heating, Nokia's computers, the whole lot, you know. So time in our time is changing really fast because something like this I couldn't imagine 40 years ago.
Hmm.
No way. You know, it was not existing. So you didn't
Right.
think about it. And we were still dealing by landline telephones for international communication.
Yep.
I have been sending, I don't know how many aerograms in the past, and you had to wait like 2.5 months before you get an answer if you send one to your parents from India. And today you
Hmm.
press 12, 13 buttons and you get them straight on the line wherever you are. Yeah, which is like unbelievable.
You could
Yeah.
probably use their old cell phones to dig because they're indestructible.
It's funny how no matter where you look in society, you kind of always see an inversion of the nature system, right? So, for instance, we could take Bock Saga and talk about Paradise Time, where everyone basically spoke the same language and could communicate with one another all around the world. And now it's similar, but it's much less natural. It's this
Similar but
third
different.
party. Yeah, it's the tech, it's the this, it's the anti-nature. Like, no, we can do it without nature. We can build it ourselves. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that mentality rules like everything. And so it's
No,
just
we
It's
are
the information
reinventing.
system.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's it. We have yeah to the before. Look, this is the whole thing. What is making Bock Saga for me anyway, and I think for all of us so interesting. First of all,
Yeah.
it talks about one time that nobody knows about because we've got only, let's say, maximum 5,000 years of written history. And for us, the way we are taking in information, much of it is visual. So we learn from books, and now we learn from TV and computer and video and podcast and whatever. You know, so a podcast is already different because it's a hearing system, which
Mm-hmm.
was the natural, traditional way of people how to transform, yeah, how to give out information to other people. So we have been for millions of years orally fixated, not
Right.
visually, because you had the information in your brain when people talk to you. You we were like the babies are still today. In order to learn a language, they have to lie around in one room where people are speaking with each other so that they, like we people are like monkey, we copy that what we listen to around us. And in that way, we learn the language. You learn it from your father, your mother, your grandfather, your grandmother, your brothers, your sisters, your people living around you. So all information you got before, you got from other live human beings. So in that time, the human being was still very interesting for the people because when somebody walks in front of the place where you are, you can do two things. Either you invite them in for a cup of tea and say, hey, let's have a talk about this or that or such or so, or You let them pass by your house, and in that way, the knowledge passes in front of you. Yeah, it passes you by. So there was a much stronger need to take in people in your surroundings, especially when they came from very different places than yourself, so that they could tell you in detail everything that was happening in their part of the planet. And all of it was oral. So we today have, of course, one system where we all learn in the school. So you anyway still learn your language by listening to your parents or the folks around you. And by the time you are 7 years old or 6 years old or wherever you are, a little bit different, and you go to school and you go away from this oral taking in of information into this visual thing of taking information, which comes all out of books. Now, we had very little books up to, let's say, about 150 years ago. If you go towards the end of the 19th century, it's the time when we started to, how do you say that, we started to oblige people to go to school to learn to read and write. So most of us were analphabets. Yeah? We were not good in reading and writing because it was done by a certain caste of people that from the Middle Ages, let's say, is done by people belonging to the different religions what we have on the planet that introduced writing. So, yeah, they had a system of passing on information. For example, we have the system that we become, let's say, under the information system of the church, which took over from Heathen time around the year 400. So then they start to make a system of copying letters from the Pope. So the Pope writes a letter. That letter becomes copied for the cardinals. From the cardinals, it becomes copied to the archbishops. The archbishops copy it for the bishops, and the bishops copy it for the priest, who is from the different local areas in Europe where their form of writing was all in Latin. So all information was passed by letter in the Latin language, and now your local priest, who was member of the church, and you knew Latin, he could translate it in your own local language. Yeah, so in Germany, they speak German in the church to the people, in England, English, yeah, and all the local variation of languages, which only the priest could do, nobody else. Yeah, for them it was all ooga booga what this Pope in Rome was telling.
This is still happening. This is still happening all the time. You know, this is what's happening with our media. This is what's happening with everything is, you know, we have this understanding that there is someone even above the governments, you know, or we don't know who this is, but it's coming down and going into all the news outlets and into all the way down to the activist level that are just repeating what they think they're supposed to say.
No, that's it. What we have today with our political system, it's a little bit the same, although you can also follow their communication on TV or on the computer today. But anyway, there is still many of these behind closed doors discussion that none of us take part in. So we get some information, but we don't get all information. We get only that. Yeah,
and someone from my perspective, and I'm assuming yours, who takes the Bock Saga seriously for what it says, you have to start also seeing that same level of corruption being trickled down into the quote unquote counterculture and alternative media that, I mean, if you think about it, this is the most, technically, not to disparage it, but it's technically one of the most unpopular quote unquote alternative theories. At least here in the West, it's not talked about often. When I type in Bock Saga on any of social medias, I'm seeing my own damn face and you two beautiful people, right? You know, and we're seeing like, it's not talked about all that much. It's gaining ground, I would say, but
slowly.
The motives, I mean, the themes that I see constantly in the alternative media are anything but what the Bock Saga suggests about how life was for us. And I think that is the heart of it, because you ask any conspiracy theorist, it's all about taking our power away. Well, the Bock Saga really shows how much that's true, ever since the re-legioning, I would say.
We are doing everything opposite as we did before. It's a little bit the same, like you go to school, and
Right.
from the school you are in today, and now in order to know something about history in our system, you go back to the 19th century, or the 20th, the 19th, the 18th, the 15th, the 12th, the 7th, then you end up in the 3000 before Christ, or when the first books are written. And before that, we have the big black hole of history, which is filled in by the information that is given out through these different books and the things what people talk about in their daily life.
Absolutely. I shared something today talking about how Plato's Atlantis, quote unquote, is a narrative, and it is in every single textbook in academia. So even if your professors are saying, well, this is just what Plato said, we don't know if this was a real place or not. This isn't real history, but it is what Plato said. Even if that's what they say, it's still in every single textbook, and it's still talking about what Atlantis should be. Dare it be real, or dare you give it any credence whatsoever. This is how you look at it. It's a narrative, just like anything else.
Of course, and then you are out straight away, because the narrative is not accepted, because we have also been changing the associations of what is mythology. So
Yes.
from our perspective, who are all like halfway, even if you are not religious, you are anyway growing up and get your information within a, from origin, quite religious structure around. So the information you get is colored according to their information. Yes, the same if you go in any other place on the planet. With the exception of those people who don't have written languages or books from where they take their knowledge, because they kept in a much longer time the information system based on oral tradition. So now these oral traditions, from our perspective, looking backwards, we don't take them so serious, because we know that their background, which is the base of their information, is called mythology. And mythology is something that is understood by people as fable, legends, hero stories, god stories, all kind of confused interpretation of the information that basically the mythologies are giving. Now, we have about 12 different mythologies on the planet, who have an original structure, where all of them present a certain aspect of, let's say, the collective knowledge of the human being on the planet. And mythology, through Bock Saga, is getting a different dimension. You start to look completely different to the mythology if you understand on what mythology is based. Now, it is basically very simple, but nobody can explain it like that, because all specialists, professors, and individuals have been making their own personal interpretation of those mythologies. Because we can, in the mythology, relate things to the planet and to the stars around us and to all these different bodies that are blasting around in the universe, with all, again, interpretations that are coming from knowledge out of, for example, astrology or astronomy from the past. But we are not so clear about it. We have not 100% clear picture of all these things. So we refuse it most of the times and move it in the realm of fable, legend, saga, blah, blah, which you don't have to take so serious because we have become scientific. And scientific people, based on the interpretation of what is mythology, they don't really accept. No, yeah, they come. It's a little bit like if you go to Hellas, you go to Greece, and you ask the local people, can you tell me something about the Greek mythology? And then they send you to the library. Yeah, because there is not existing practically anything left in the daily life of their mythology. The same in Rome, the same in almost everywhere, with the exception of India. You can say it's the only place where mythology is still alive and part of the existence of the people because they are surrounded with all these different mythological characters and the stories that are told about them. Yeah, but from an average educated Western perspective, what are they doing with their elephant god and with their Shiva, where the Ganga is coming out of his head? Yeah.
It reminds me of when I was in school, they had like this thing, it was like the learning pyramid. Have you ever heard of this? And it's like you remember 10% of what you read, and then you remember 50% of what you learn in a group discussion, but then you remember 90% of what you teach someone else of what you've learned.
That's already.
And it's like that has to do with the dialogue. You're getting all this information with this dialogue, with this talking amongst, not just listening. You hear even less when someone is lecturing, right? You remember 5% of what someone's telling you, like like what we were saying with the priests. By the time it gets down to the Pope to the priests, it's like they're just saying stuff and everyone's like, okay, I don't know, I'm just going to keep celebrating Christmas this way,
right.
But then it's very interesting how this information system is still somewhat known. I remember this from elementary school, just seeing that on the wall, and I was like, well, why are you giving me these books? Why am I not allowed to talk? Why do I have to raise my hand? Why can't I speak up and ask questions and things like that? But
inversion.
It's part of the same trip. What make like we just talked about, that when we are interpreting the history, we also don't realize very clearly that we are taking then the interpretation of that what we know about 18th century, 15th century, 1,000 years ago, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. We are looking at it with our mind, which is 100% 20th, 21st century mindset. And in our mindset, certain things are normal, and this is the way how you do things. And now with that mind, you start to look backwards in order to come to some kind of conclusion on the history. And up to now, or up to 40 years ago, we didn't have a clue about any information that could pass through those borders created by the books from which we have all our knowledge. Yeah.
Let's talk about normal. Yeah.
Yeah. We do all that. But I want to go. Yeah, I want to go first to put it like a little bit in the perspective of what it is. So if you go to mythology, Bock, we have already more or less introduced Bock Saga, so people know a bit who have been following this thing what it is about. But we can a little bit repeat it for those who have no clue.
Sure.
Like mythology, you can divide in sound. Because before, people didn't speak like black letters on white paper, they speak in sound. And now in Finland, there has been one family who has kept an oral tradition from the beginning of mankind. Now that sounds, of course, completely crazy. If you say such a thing, you are already disregarded by specialists, experts, and authorities on any subject as being a local nutcase who lost. Yeah, this has been our own experience in the time that we started to explain about what is mythology. So mythology consists of three begreps, how you call that, the sound combination.
Syllables.
Mythology.
Yeah, where you have mood, and you have u, and you have logic. So in this language in which they transfer their knowledge, mood, u, logic means the, let's say, freely translated, comfortable knowledge of Ude, meaning the sun. So it's something that we receive from the sun. Like everything that lives on this planet and exists on this planet is existing here because of solar power. Yeah, we are very into it at the moment because we realize, oh, we get from the sun this energy what we need in order to run our system. But actually all life that has been existing from the beginning on this planet is based on the rays coming from the sun. So mythology is telling a story about, starts from the beginning. It starts from zero and it leads us up to today, where we are doing exactly the opposite. When we are looking into history, we are looking from today backwards with this, like you just said, Dustin, this normal mind. Now, if you start from the beginning, you also come to an understanding why the things are as they are in our time. So it's the history that has been making that we are today as we are. But you must, in that way, in the same time, give space to all of our ancestors who have been living long time back in the history, who are living with completely different perspectives, completely different feelings, completely different understanding of the reality around them. So they are not so different as we are. Yeah, because we are all like that. We are all a product of our surrounding, and that what you get from your surrounding is very little what you have been getting by yourself. It's practically everything what you get from your surrounding. So your surrounding is very important in that way, because those are the people from where you get all these different norms and ways of looking at things. Now, if you then find out that the mythology, what is kept by this family, is not based on black letter on white paper, but on the sounds that we produce, that we take in through our ear, which form our brain. Yeah? So we were so orally fixated during a the longest time of the history of the human being. It was not so much what you see, because what you see become interpreted also different by every individual. But what you hear is that what you hear. And there was no reason for people to start to tell you funny, comical fairy tale about the reality of things. The people told them exactly the way how we like them. They tell it as it is and how it was for them. So you have to accept in your brain that when you go into history today, of long time ago, that we can become confronted with completely different norms and values and feelings than that what is normal for us today. Yeah?
Yes.
And there is the clue, actually.
Yes, and the word normal, right? The nor is the north, and mal in Latin languages means bad, but mal is more like malleate or malleable. It's the form.
Yes.
It's the form. So it's the form of the north. The word normal is the form of the north.
The standard.
The standard, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, we're white supremacists now.
Stan. Well, not in paradise time.
No, I know. I say, and I just, I like to say that on every Bock Saga podcast, because literally somebody, a fairly popular podcaster that I was talking to just the other day was like, all right, tell me about this Bock Saga. And I gave him just 10 minutes of it. He's like, sounds really white supremacist. I'm like, yeah, no, it's not. And I told him, like, what white supremacy origin story starts us all off as brown? And he was like, yeah. And then like, because he didn't have an answer, he was like,
Oh yeah, people are bored very quickly today, you know. So
Right. Oh, this doesn't sound juicy anymore.
I have been bored on this Bock Saga from 1984 when it came out from this family, because the guy who told me happened to be member of that family who has been keeping that oral tradition from the beginning of mankind, which of course sounds totally crazy. But because I knew the guy 10 years before he started to talk about this story, and I just met him like any regular character what you can meet, and to whom you have good feeling, and find out, oh, it's nice to travel together with a bunch of us. We go here and we go there. And so you get to know each other and you find out that, hey, we like to spend time with each other because we have shared experience. No, I could learn quite a lot from that guy because he was from another country than I was. And he was very interested in 18th century history. So every time I met him, he is telling me about the next story, which he was telling every year on the 7 islands in front of the coast of hell. And that was his big interest in life. But now he also had been getting from 7 to 27 a 20-year education by his mother and her sister, where he was told about the story as they in the past have always been doing in that family from generation of generation of generation of generation. And these people, they speak one language, which is still today called Root. And Root was spoken by a group of people in the south of Finland before Einstein. So there we go already, you know. Suddenly you become thrown into the fact that Bock Saga is describing, the Bock Saga is based on the saga itself, which consists of the mythology and the history based on a sound system, because he started to explain to me that in his family they have a meaning for every sound that we produce, of which we make our words, our vocabulary, and you can find them all in the dictionary. Yeah, also nice word. Dictionary.
There's no other story like that goes back and is even describing this time before ice, or even differentiating that there was an ice time.
Oh yeah, that's it, you know, because the history of this planet, they divide also in 4 periods. So the saga itself consists of 4 aspects. The saga itself, which consists of the mythology, the history, and the sound system, where every sound has one meaning in this root language that these people are speaking, which today, to cut it short, is what they call in the book the Swedish-Finnish language.
Right.
No, sorry,
And,
sorry. I make a mistake. It's the Finnish-Swedish language.
A Finnish dialect of the Swedish language kind of thing.
No, the Swedish is a dialect from this Finnish root language, which is very close to the Swedish, but they pronounce the words in a different way. So the Finnish people are saying that the Swedish people speak root sinkieli, from which if you divide the words and you obtain the meaning, you find out that, they are singing the root, because these people in the south of Finland, where I have been learning their language, they don't speak like the people in Stockholm. They are speaking on a, let's say, more monotonous, same type of speech like we are having now. But if you listen to somebody from Stockholm, they are speaking like it's going up and down and it's singing. And rhythmic, so in Finnish, it's called also ruotsi. Yeah, they say, so in the book, they write it in a different way than they should actually write it, which makes that nobody makes the association to the root. But when you know it, that what for us is u is what you call you.
Yeah.
So the u is the u, like in German, like in many places. But in Scandinavia, it's the ring that is u. So what we call o is for them u. And this kind of changes that could be introduced in a written system. In that way, you could take away the associations that human beings had before to all these words that we can find from the dictionary. But if you know it, you can switch them in your brain and find out what is the original meaning. Yeah. So there we go.
But I find it fascinating that a lot of these words and everything are pretty well preserved in words in English as well.
Yes.
And a lot of the confusion comes in when we spell the words, and so we have these sounds that make the same sound, especially with like good examples are just the first few letters, right? You got one with a W, or two also, or the number two, a number of, or four is like before, things like that, or things like that. But that's when you go into these root pronunciations, sometimes the word is actually spelled correctly to the root pronunciation, but we don't say it the way it's spelled.
No, because in English,
and then sometimes it goes the other way around, where we're actually saying it correctly, but it's spelled all weird, like knowledge or knife or whatever,
or straight.
It's hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, it's hiding actually in plain sight. But they have been doing.
There's another one. I mean, that one has a bunch of meanings. You got plane. You got a plane that flies, or you can speak plainly. Anyway,
you can have a planer.
Yep.
Yes, but you can go into the root and understand the true meaning. And it's often these words, like my favorite example is the word spring, which I've mentioned before probably, but sometimes all of the meanings in the English language that are all spelled differently are all the same meaning in one word in root sometimes. I don't know.
Correct.
Right. No, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. It's hard. Michelle, if you could give some like examples of more examples are always needed. And
always
sometimes,
good.
Yeah.
So if
people love wordplay once you hear it, because that's what caught me first was the linguistics and making these connections that to words that no one ever thinks about. Right. Like I think I mentioned another example of like breakfast. No one thinks about how you're actually breaking your fast from the previous day. Right. But you just think, oh, it's the first meal of the day, breakfast.
It's some weird word. Yeah.
You don't conscientiously think about it until you do, and then once you start doing it with one word, then all of a sudden, I mean, I've just said 1,000 words in a row right now. I can go into each word and, there's so much more meaning, and it's like a whole story saga in of itself.
It's the same in root. Like in root today, breakfast is called vroegkost, which is like what very old word. Vroeg means one woman. One vroeg is somebody who has been having children. She has the title vroeg. And kost is that what you taste. So vroegkost is that cost what you get from this lady. So it looks like the man was doing different thing than the lady, because you should have also have man kost. But there is only vroegkost for breakfast. So there is already fallen away in the language an aspect of life which become explained in Bock Saga, which not anymore exist in the brain of people of today. So in Finnish it's again different, because in Finnish breakfast is aamiainen.
I feel amazing when I skip breakfast. I often skip breakfast, and maybe men were never having the breakfast that we think of today.
Correct.
Maybe.
That is, but then we move in before.
But my wife, she gets very upset if she misses a meal.
Oh yeah, many people. No, but that's it. There we see that through the time, the life has been changing around us, because we have been evaluating into that what we are today. Yeah, so it's like an enormous process. And now Bock Saga is talking about enormous time span. So that already makes it unbelievable, because they think, how can you know that thing? Oh yeah, if you have one language called root, where every sound in the alphabet has a meaning, and you see that all these words are coming out of those meanings. Now, from the beginning, the human being have been using its physiognomy, its body, which has all names, all parts of the body have names, and that is the basis for their anatomy, is the basis of the language of root, and from that they have been naming the whole nature around us. Yeah, so every one of us is the center of the universe, and everything outside from us has names. Yeah,
That's right.
but
That's right.
why are they called? Why do they have those names that they have? So somebody must have been starting it, yeah, to call the sun sun, and to call the star star, and the tree, and this kind of process by naming the whole nature. Now for that they created. They had their own language. I don't want to go too deep in it because then we talk for hours just about that subject. But like they created another language besides root called Ban, which was the language spoken outside of this area of this first family. And they speak this Ban language, which is like one in English, which is the Finnish language, which is a huge language by which by putting all kinds of combination sounds that have an origin in root, they could much more precisely describe the nature and everything around in our relation.
Michel, I heard one time that you can correct me or something, but I heard something like the root is a 2-dimensional language, whereas the Van is a 3-dimensional language.
Oh,
Do you know anything about that?
No, that's not true, because we are 3-dimensional bodies, and from anatomy of the 3-dimensional body, we have been naming everything around us, and inside and outside. Yeah. So
Yes. And as above, so below as well. The
also,
whole naming things of the anatomy and then projecting that outwards. It's so
correct.
obvious. It's in those hermetic principles as well.
To the whole nature around us, also outside of the earth. Yeah, so you can see yourself as a microcosmos within the family of man, and then you can see yourself as the microcosmos living on a planet which is surrounded by this huge universe, which is outside from us, but which we perceive and conceive through our brain.
And what does this sound like to people that often love to study esoteric societies and history and stuff like that? This sounds like Judaism. It sounds like mysticism. It sounds like Kabbalah. It sounds like Buddhism. It sounds like the Vedic culture, which was Aryan. And so it's like this. All these pieces fit together, and that's. I just wanted to chime in with that.
The Mayan, the Polynesian.
Absolutely.
The how you call them there in South America? What the name we have left is Inca. Like if you look in the title of them, Inca, Inen, this Inca is inside there, which has some association with sun and fertility. The heat.
And Dustin and I have talked about this too. Even the act of semen retention in Kama Sutra and those Eastern teachings, it's like, well, I'm sure like it was such a fast, obvious association. Like, not that this is the same, but it's clearly one is coming from the other. It's coming very out, obvious. This had an original idea attached to it.
Yeah, sure. It comes out of this how we originally were living and procreating and informing each other, and how to, in the best possible way, use the nature around us so that we could live 100% in balance with the nature. And then we call that form, we call harmony or balance. Yeah, balance. And harmony.
Yes.
Yeah, and harmony. Muni means the eggs, which you have hanging between your legs. Man has eggs, lady have eggs, and when you impregnate the egg with semen, one of the semen goes in the egg, and from that moment starts the cell division, and it's become born another human being after 9 months. Yeah. So this was the realization what they had from the beginning, because they were also dropped here in this world in the same way like the frog, the elephant, the eel, the monkey, the goat, all of them appeared at one point for the first time out of one evolution that is based on the rays of the sun. So if you put one bucket of water in your backyard and you let the sun shine on it for a couple of days, you will find out that it's full of algae. Now, the same thing happened to planet Earth when the sun is shining on the ocean. After a little while, you start to get green plants in the ocean. And out of this green plant, from the plant world and the animal world, from the algae, which if you take it in South, algae is a root word, and it means all giving. Algae, it's all giving. And from the algae comes the all. The all. And the all is what you in English would call one eel.
An eel. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our first serpent symbolism, perhaps.
Yes, also, of course,
Well,
because it's the
what
closest.
do you get when you get a vital?
A vite eel.
I have to object. It's
Okay.
Come on.
I'm a pain in the ass. I told you already.
Good.
Yeah, no, it comes from vital, because you pronounce according to English. But this whole system works when you from the English, which is very close to the root, because it belongs to the same family of languages that we have in Northwest Europe. So there you have vi and you have tal, vital, which you call vital. Yeah, but vital means we speak. Tal
Right,
means
because
speech.
kings, we kings. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, also we, the kings. Why have kings when you can have a president? This is the problem what we have today.
Hell yeah.
So this is not a story about the Vikings. This Bock Saga, because it belongs to their neighbors in Finland. The Swedish and Danish families from the past, they were living with what we call Viking mythology today.
Which is interesting because I after hearing the Bock Saga, I really went into a lot of the history that is written in books, and Finland, that whole area around there, completely missing from every story, from all the Byzantine Empire's writings and accounts of wars and fighting, completely missing that whole area around Helsinki, Finland.
It's only a couple of Vikings passing by along the coast there, the way to Russia or somewhere.
Yeah, I think I heard, Michel, you said on a video back in the 90s, you said the Finnish people, the completely finished people.
Yes.
And it's like when you look at that time period, because of course I've gone into like 1050 AD, Finland, like what was going on in 1050, just to see what the history books have written about any of those time periods. Like, Finland was a no man's land. It's
when
like, what the hell?
Of course, like when we started the story, when my friends started to tell the story in '84, we were still in Finland living with the history book that 1,000 years ago there was nobody living in Uudenmaan,
right.
which is correct. Yeah, they had been killing all the people, and you were forbidden to enter that up to the year 1250.
Right,
so
this is how they lie without lying. Yeah. They tell the truth, they just do it in a different way.
Yeah, of course, But hey, there have been living people in Finland from exactly 9,040 years ago. From 9,040 years ago up to today. Because there was a 1,000-year period before that, just right after the ice time, when they couldn't stay in Finland because the end of the ice time on the continent becomes finished because of a break in the ice over Scandinavia and this ice cap going up to the North Pole. So in the north of Scandinavia, there comes a break in the ice, and that makes that the ice on the continent start to shift south, and it polished the bedrock, the granite bedrock of Norway, Sweden, Finland, Russia. Hold this air.
Scrape
Hold
the
it.
surface,
It's
right?
And
great.
also,
Yeah.
it also reminds me when you say the word finish, you're using it like they're done. But I hear when you are making furniture and you're polishing the wood, you're putting a finish on it.
Yeah, and you can talk about
or finesse.
I was just going to say, you have to have a certain finesse for that skill set. Yeah.
And when you're describing people that are described as the Finns, the finish, you know, I feel like they're a polished, you know, they have the finesse, they have this greater, you know, understanding and yeah, I don't want to say authority, but like
but
you know,
that comes again because of, for example, the English language, where you pronounce Finnish and Finnish, you have fine, yeah. So the fine art, we have the fine art, yeah, and we have the less fine art, yeah, the more tuck, you know, couple of three logs put on top of each other, and you can make a house or a sauna or whatever, you know. But in it's the pronunciation and the change in the pronunciation, what change also the association that people have to the words that we use. But if you look in root, these things here on my hand, my hand, in root it's called hand, and hand has finger,
Finger,
yeah, and finger, yeah. So this is your finger in
and
root language.
is give, right?
Ge is give, and R is the substance that we find by the man in the sperm and by the ladies in the sap that they produce in the area of their sexual organ. Yeah, so of course all our origin lies just in the center part of our body, which is this prick and pussy story which we have everywhere on the planet, but until recently we couldn't talk about such a thing. Because if you start to talk about your prick or your pussy or your dick or sperm or sap, man, your grandmother gets very nervous because she was educated in a different norm setting than these things that we have been slowly breaking out. So I remember we were the first people publicly talking about sperm in 1984, and everybody straight away was disgusted from that what we said. Because for them, sperm, because it comes out of your prick, it has the same association of piss. The same with the sap of the lady. Nobody talked about it. It was this week in Holland in a talking program after 8 o'clock in the evening, where for the first time there was one lady who bring out the terminology of what you in English call squirting. So it's something you don't talk about.
No.
Because we don't know it also. 99% of the guys on the planet don't know it. The girls don't tell us about it because they are all, you know. Oh,
and the symbol, the Q and the E are both feminine.
Right.
More feminine than masculine. Yeah. So if you have a word.
The Q. Oh, the sound. You mean the sound?
Yeah,
Q.
the sound Q. And so just the word squirt is already implying that is from the feminine side.
Yes, it's S sun and Q quadrat.
And it is squared, right? It would be more like, I mean, we pronounce it weird, but square, even the A sound is.
No, it's not there.
Know.
It's a E.
I'm stretching it right there. Maybe.
It's an E sound there. It's a Q and E.
Yeah.
Q and E, because it's coming from their E.
From
like
inside,
From inside.
Right.
Yeah? Where by us, the E, which is like in the symbolic, it's one pole with one dot on top. So what you call the I, yeah? But the I is
standard.
the I is something what you have in your under your forehead. There you have the I. So we have.
I understand.
Yeah. So we have two I here, and now men have this funny thing that they don't have only one head like the lady. We have also a down head. Yeah. And the down head is just that head that is on top of the prick, hanging between our legs. So there must be the place of the third eye. from where sperm is coming, from where everybody is born on the planet, except Jesus. Yeah, according to the story in the book. Yeah, because he is born from one virgin. So, I mean, I know that it must be very difficult to be born from one virgin. So,
Well, especially when the real story sounds more like they were trying to cover up
and of
a
course, because
bloodline.
they didn't want to talk about sperm and sap,
True.
which is like the
They want to talk
basic.
about blood and eating
Absolutely,
flesh.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's another thing I wanted to say. The disgust in modern Western society. Yeah, sure, the association to piss and stuff like that, maybe, but I would say atheist, agnostic, or believer, Western religious thought affects everybody, and they, being the ultimate original inverters of this nature system, have effectively tabooed our own bodies, which
Correct.
we can connect back to what we said in the beginning, that you ask any conspiracy theorist with any type of theory, it all has to do with removing our own sovereignty and power.
Correct.
So just wanted to tie that all
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, no, you do it really well to explain it in that way. It's true. It's something we can't do nothing for because it has been created, this thing, over 1,000 years of changing association to one life that we were living before. So
The
today we all,
relegioning. Yes,
yeah, but
sorry.
before we was natural, because we live according to nature law and all these aspects of the physical body of the human being. And today we are normal, which in our time has become 180 degrees opposite of nature. That is why we are in panic on this planet. Because, oh, climate change, and oh, CO2, and oh, NOx, and oh, this, and oh, that. And we are in total panic because actually it's our own activity of the last 200 years since industrialization that is fucking up the total life on this planet. We change everything into plastic. So, you go and have a look on this planet with that. I remember still going around on this planet when there was no plastic in the third world. But in the last 50 years, the whole place is plastered with plastic. The rivers are plastered, the oceans are plastered, everything is plastered with plastic. So, of course, you have to come to one realization, what we also came a short time ago. So now we start to collect plastic because we find out, we can reuse it. So there is no need to just throw it away.
And it's also make America great again. I want my food in plastic. Like, it's this idea, like the good guys on the side of, like, anti-vaccine, anti-democratic psychosis that's going on. Unfortunately, they're also like, yeah, let's go back to the 50s. Let's get plastic. Let's not ask any questions. Jesus is our Lord. I got my Tupperware and we're good. It's like, oh my God, the inversions are all over the place. Nobody knows what sides they're actually taking. Which is funny because that's written about in Religion.
Yeah.
People know that they're being deceived.
Correct.
Is plastic an old word?
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Plastic.
You have plus R and you have plastic. So plus R is like what you call plaster. You are plastering something. Yeah? It's like you are filling in the holes in the wall with plaster.
Mortar.
Then so it's
a plus. Also, you have a plaque.
Yeah.
Or
covers a wall as well.
So plus is puddle. Puddle.
It's probably an old word, or it comes out of old words. You can say like that.
Yeah, because they all do.
Yeah, all words are always based on this alphabet that consists of 29 sounds, where every sound has a meaning. So you can go all over the planet and apply that system. When you know the meaning of the sound, you are coming to your slowly to your more natural self and a more natural surrounding and less plastic in front of your nose. Yeah, it is a totally different world. What because we are telling the people that we are so clever and that we are so high and look our high culture. But our high culture, in the same time that we are saying that look how high we are anyway sitting up to our ears in shit, no, on all this planet, because it's all full of garbage. So
well, nobody knows how to make anything. You know, it takes like 100 countries to make a pencil, that kind of thing.
Yeah, more or like a blue jeans, you know.
You know, and so there's like I know how to turn the lights on and off. I know how to press that button. I don't know how to make a light. I don't know how to make any of the things I use on I don't even know how to make a t-shirt.
As Joe Rogan once famously said, if I drop you off on an island with nothing but a hatchet, how long before you can send me an email?
Yes, that's it. No, I know that from Joe. He's funny, you know, he makes all this kind of like very simple remark that where is a big big thinking behind, no? Because that's really the truth. We are all lost, man. We are all lost. If tomorrow the electric falls out, we have a really big problem. You know?
Yeah. Dustin and I were talking about that right before we recorded,
Yeah, that's why I understand the enormous amount of brains dealing at the moment with everything relating to electricity. But if you look for example, in the Greek mythology, there is one of the seven stars in the sky, this configuration called Pleiades, the Pleiades or whatever you call it in English. But one of them is called Electra. Yeah. So one of the stars of the seven is Maya, is the main one, and then you have Electra, and you have some other names of them. I don't have them right now in my brain. But anyway, you see that word is existing from before. So people must have had also some kind of electric understanding.
Right.
Yeah. Because also the processes in your brain are based on the electric created within all these nerve systems that make up your mind. Yeah, also that functions electrically, in a way. Yeah.
So we got Maya, Electra, Tyget or Tygete, Alcyone or Alcyone, Seleno, which we have the AE there, the CELAENO, Seleno, Sterope, and Merope.
Yeah, correct.
And those are
I think the AE is the E, or the A sound, right? In root, just the letter E.
Just to clarify, like the English and the root in many ways very close, but the problem what we have with English is that you pronounce A in the same way like we pronounce A, and the way we pronounce A, you pronounce E.
Yes,
and what we pronounce as E, you call I. So there you have already like three vowels that, because of the different pronunciation in English, takes you away from the original. That's also why many of the things what you come with, like they are very clever, yeah, that you realize this kind of thing. And you divide them, but when you divide them according to the English pronunciation, you don't come to the root. And that is why the story about what you tell at that moment is not really correct. But sometimes you get pretty close, but not really. And there is things that we have to learn in time in order to get a more clear perspective. Now, if you ask me that how would you like to live? Yeah, I like to live in utopia and I like to live in the paradise.
Utopia.
Utopia. Utopia. Yes, so utopia. So there has, of course, meaning in that. And utopia, in our way of thinking, is something that you never reach. So it's a dream. Yeah, but it's a little bit like the dream, the Midsummer Night's Dream or the dream of paradise. You want to try to make it that you get as close, although you never reach, because you never become Uden, you never become the sun, which is the originator of all life and everything existing within this universe. You never, you can make the approximation to live in utopia, but you can spend every generation to get closer and closer and closer and closer and closer, and then eventually you will be pretty close and pretty satisfied with the state of affairs around you. where you are not depending whether there is money coming electrically out of your computer or out of some box out in the street where it spits out some flaps of dollar or euro or whatever. It's like a thing we never needed before. Because in the paradise time, before ice time, we were living like one family. So can you imagine one family where some get to eat and some not? And some have a place to sleep and some not? And some yeah.
Oh, real quick, do you mind talking about, I think it might have been you, but it might have been Jim. I can't remember who it was, and I can't find the video again, but one of you guys a long time ago talked about a money system. And it was like before the feudal system came in or something like that. And it had to do with coins being made each year, passed out as currency, but then returned back to source at the end of the year and destroyed, melted down to make the new ones, basically describing a system with no wealth gain, with no personal wealth dynasty creation at all. And it's very similar to the firstborn son being the king, but never having children. No nepotism.
Yeah.
So it's weird that the saga solves these very awful modern things that go on simply by just flipping something just a little bit. It's just really interesting.
By changing the association. So it's very clearly like if you just listen to the word in English, you write money, but you pronounce money. Now what do you say when you pronounce money? Man and E. Yeah, there are a three-letter combination and one how you call that vowel, one vowel. So you talk about
moon
money.
E.
Moon. Money. So money. It's like talking about brick from the morning to the evening. But what is this money that is coming out of that money? In Finnish, that what comes out is that most basic material of the sperm and of the magla, which we call ra. Yeah, so we have a concept called ra, we can explain later on. But anyway, ra, the money in Finnish language is called raha, which means you are ra, you have ra. Yeah, so your money is in your purse, in your sack, which consists of two paws, two bags. Yeah, so you have the sack, and there is inside two bags, and in each bag is one egg or one stone, depending on your construction. And in that is the life-giving material where it goes from one egg to the egg of the female side and out after 9 months of one baby. So there is really the basics of money, and that's what you can do with it. But today, we become very inventive because everything becomes money.
Yeah, Andy, what you're talking about came later. So that was more like when the Osser tribes, there's a bunch of different tribes in and around Europe. And so it was more of this feudal system. And you were describing it pretty accurately.
Yeah, we had it, but the feudal system we had until the time of the industrialists.
Right.
So the feudal system was always this thing that the money is in the treasury of the king. And in the beginning of the year, the king gives out coins. With these coins, make that we don't have to run with half a cow on our shoulder and 50 kg of potato.
Right.
You could just go and make an exchange via the currency what you have in order to make life more easy. But if you live all together in the nature, you have to get still this cow or this reindeer or this pig or this, and you have to do all the job. We just go in the supermarket and we get it packed and cut in the right amount of pieces for consumption, packed in plastic, of course. Yeah, and that makes that we have been creating such a distance between the stuff that we consume and where it comes from. Half the people have no idea. So when I tried to become school teacher in the early years of the 70s, and you go in front of one class and you ask where comes the milk from, and they say from the Tetra Pak, because they had just been inventing the Tetra Pak instead of the bottled milk, what we got up to the 1970s. Yeah, So in the 70s, we changed from bottle to Tetra Pak because you could put more stuff economically in one crate. Yeah, so we have been changing completely this whole thing that everything what goes inside us, something which is a product out of nature that we need in order to exist. Yeah, so we stop to value it. It's a little bit like with the American Indian that hey, when you take an animal's life, you appreciate first that whole group of animals because you can say, hey, sorry, man, I have to take you because I have to live also. And it's the same with the plants and the stuff from the trees. It's not only to just pick, it's also to have the realization, hey, it comes from the fruit of that tree. So we have to take care of that tree because it provides us with the fruit. Yeah, don't go and cut it down. So there is all this kind of thing. Now, if you go in the history of the human being on this planet, it is happening like we already said before Einstein, when we had one family of human beings on the planet that went out according to one system to populate this whole pole. And they did it in such a way that we remained one family. So there was no nepotism. There was no struggle for survival. Struggle for survival is when you have stupid people. There is no reason to struggle for survival. If you have a good organization.
It seems like Saga is like one of the only origin stories that talks about a utopia, but also describes it and gives examples of how it was utopic. You know, everyone else is like, well, no, we're all magical. That's why. That's it. That's the end of our story. You know, that's usually the alternative. Like, oh, we all had crystal ships and spaceships, and we were interdimensional star seeds. So that's why Atlantis was amazing. You know, like that's the alternative. And at least this is a rational explanation of how it was a well-designed system.
This Bock Saga, it's very because they named the nature. So of course they had also a reason why they call a plant, and a planet, and a tree. I mean, that all has a reason, which we never find out as long as we are using black letters on white paper. But the minute that you start to explain what these sounds mean, you come to a very down-to-earth, 100% natural, no magical mystery bullshit of abstraction in order to explain that what you think about how it was. And also it caught me from the minute that he starts to talk about this, I realized straight away that man, this guy, he was a good friend to me in that time, almost 10 years, where I realized that, he and his family, they are walking around with the key that everybody is looking for. Everybody. Because we all want to know, where do we come from? How did we get here? How did we evolve? How did we spread? How come that in some places people are red and yellow and blue and white? And, no, we started like brown people. And it's the history that make that we fall out into different arts that during the ice time all have their specific area where they live, and they could communicate with each other because they had part language. Yeah, so of course under ice time, which was a very long time, these people have also been sitting in boats, putting the sail up and saying, okay, we go to look to our cousins living in South America, North America, Africa, Australia, the Pacific, Asia, Hindustan, everywhere. Yeah. So basically, all human beings, more or less, still look the same when you take the skin off. Yeah. So an African is not different on the inside of his skin as somebody from the Arctic or from China or from wherever. So we are all basically the same. It's only the outside look that became different because we stopped to have one All-Father from whom a whole planetary society originated, but now it were 11. Yeah?
I just wanted to kind of explain also that you can get the use of nature and how to be with nature in the words themselves, right? Like I was hoping Yoke can also come in and give some examples, but last I talked to him, he was talking about how he was finding that in the names of the herbs or plants that are growing in his area are also describing what they're good for or how to use them.
Yes.
You know, like if they're a probiotic or something like that, or you know, they're good for this kind of sickness, but it's in the word, in the name of what it is in of itself. And it got me thinking it's also probably in the names of the animals as well. And when you know, you have like the bear, the bear.
We spent like a week on that word.
So you use the bear for skin to go in the winter time. You know, you use bear skin, so you're not bear. You know, or even the duck, right? Is anka, something like that.
Anka, yeah,
Anka, yeah. And you were telling me this really cool story. Let me try to see if I can do it justice. Is you would when the water is frozen over, you would break one hole and make a hole in the ice.
In the winter time,
and you play with the water a little bit, and all the ducks would come and fly in and duck dive. They would duck under the water and grab fish and grab whatever they need, and it stirs up the water as well to prevent it from freezing some more by paddling.
Paddling, correct.
A duck paddle. And
oh my God,
that's kind of as far as I can go with it. But
that is awesome.
It's like the ducks paddling into it. So the minute in Finland before, still in 1800, no, we don't have to go back so far. 1850. In Finland, everything happens later. Like it was the last, let's say, Western style country where the people came out of the forest in Finland, 1930. So up to 1930, the majority of the Finnish people have been living in the forest. Yeah, where we was already civilized in Amsterdam and New York, and they was coming out of the forest and built their industrial thing and all this blah blah blah. So today we are quite similar. Yeah, but the thing is, because they lived so long time in the nature, they also know all the things of how this nature is operating. So when in the winter time, everything is frozen, 1 meter ice on the ocean, you know, or on the East Sea, on the Finnish Gulf, and on the lakes. So you get like a really thick layer of ice. So if you every day have to cut that hole in the ice, man, you are working from the morning to the evening. But now you make that hole when the winter starts, when the ice comes on the water, and now straight away out of this magical nature is coming 200 duck, and they jump in that hole that you make in the ice, and now by paddling with their feet, they keep movement in the water so it doesn't freeze again. So anytime you need water for your sauna or for cooking or for drinking, you can just go to that piece of the ice and you take out this bucket of water. And in the next thing you could do is when it's dark, you put a candlestick on the side of the ice next to the water, and now the fish, they see that light, so the fish come up, and then you stand there on the side with your trident, with your trisul, and you you can take out this fish. You know, so fishing.
I've done that.
Fishing, yeah, me too.
I've used a flashlight and shined them, and you know, we've grabbed, like my friend literally grabbed a trout right out of the water a couple winters ago.
Fishing is very simple, you know, in that style. Yeah,
but I want to say that it's in the name.
Yeah.
So anka, it's anka. Yeah, and the word for anchor is ankare.
Is ankara. Yeah.
So you're putting the fish in the water like an anchor.
Yeah, anchor. Yeah,
and so just in the name itself, right? Wow. It's still kind of preserved in English. Duck. You know, you duck.
You're ducking.
Under
it's
something.
Always a verb too.
Yeah.
Like things always go back to verbs.
Yeah.
And I find that goes all the way into the abstract because we could. I'm very curious
not
because
abstract.
I know cannabis and shrooms were part of this whole story. So it's like, the abstract or the consciousness aspect is relevant at some point in the story, and this, I lost my train of thought. Where was I starting there?
I think it's interesting because give me a hatchet and throw me on an island. What the heck? When do I get emails? Now all you need is your language and the stories.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
And then you don't need to worry about it because you'll be fine.
So the verb thing I wanted to mention before I forget it, all these words going back to verbs and the descriptions of what you do or what you get from this animal or this plant or whatever being embedded right in there. When I was talking about consciousness and how it all relates in some way, as above, so below, that's often what you find from the ancient Buddhists, where there is no ultimate observer or beer. It's just being. It's always that verb of being. There is no observer. Yeah, it's very. I don't know. I'm assuming you're familiar with that, Dustin.
Yeah.
Being into Buddhism.
No, that's clear. Out of this verb you come to the noun, and all these side effects having to do with that. And the brilliant thing is that everybody's looking for the magic book, and everybody's got them probably in their room. Because the dictionaries are the magical books, because everything is alphabetically listed. So if you find the root word, meaning the root of any particular type of word in root language or Waan language, under it you get this whole category of everything that is deducted from this root word, from this stem word, what makes up the totality of language in the end. So in the Finnish language is incredible because you have technically the possibility to, from one stem word, make more than 169,000 other words from one stem word. Wow. Yeah, so it's the biggest language existing on the planet, but nobody speaks like that style anymore because we have been, from the perspective of Bock Saga, we have been not so much going up, we have more been going down. We are using, today everybody knows that with 1,400 words you can basically speak and explain most of the things. But now you can go in the really philosophical, technical, how would you say it, there's so many associations of how you can go deeper in one language to more good give out that knowledge that you can deduct from this kind of words. So before people were, that's why most of this, like the stories coming from Bock or what they still were doing in the Finnish people, that they were bringing more than like incantation, like poetic style of language by which you could, those people who had access to that type of language could understand like really large concepts, which for us have become very simplified in one way.
Yeah, today people are obsessed with definitions, and I'm realizing that the big difference between a meaning and a definition, because almost nothing would make sense according to a definition that we're saying, but according to the meaning, people understand what we're saying when we're speaking. And so a better meaning of a word is actually just a translation, or translating the word to these first two languages to get a better meaning out of the word and what it is really saying.
This is a good example. This is a good example because meaning means mining. And from mining comes mind. Yeah, so I mind my own business. Yes, that means you have been going in your mind, and now in your mind, in your brain, there are all these film reels with association to this particular stem word. What makes that you from your mind, that what you have been mining for, you can give out your information because you are full of movie in your brain there on reel, which you take out the minute somebody gives you the inspiration to talk about meaning. Like you just
it's through these definitions that are using to control the world around us right now, right? We have a legal dictionary, yeah, and it gives you all the definitions. Am I a person? No, you're not a person. A corporation is also a person, so we're not a person according to the definition in a law dictionary. Yes, but the meaning of a person, is completely different, right? That we're all sons of pair, right? But they have a citizen. You create these definitions, and now you have this construct of the society that's been built around us using these definitions. Yeah, like it's
shit.
in the word itself, right? There's also just like in the word money, you have this money system with the coins and passing out, but you also have this previous meaning of money, which is the moon, in the mouth and things like that. But in just having a definition, you're taking the sound completely away.
Because you don't, if you divide in the correct way, you make the theme. We are again in this theme, Finland, the theme.
Phonetics.
Yeah, in the phonetics, you find out the meaning of what is this word actually saying.
Yeah, and the word defines itself.
The word defines itself if you know the meaning of the sound. Now, this is a process where he was educated 20 years within his family from the age of 7 to 27 in order to store that all in his brain. He is also a 20th century guy, so he's living like most of us, and he makes similar experience. But he has this added story from how it was before, what made him, for me, to be the greatest authority on history existing on the planet. Once I find out after some time that, hey, all of this is true, I can't deny what he is saying. Yeah, and he gives me thousands of examples, thousands.
Yeah.
We went through in this 20 years as one relatively small group of people with whom he wanted to share this story, because he didn't want to have 10,000 people in a football stadium and starting to speak like the Pope to his followers. No, it was not in his interest. Small group of people, you can speak your mind, you get to know each other, you can be your natural self, and you find out there's one small group of people that it works. So we were all the time, how to say that when you agree with each other, we were all the time confirming the story within this relatively small group of people who get more or less active in this story. And in that way, we helped him to pull out all these stories from that what is in his mind, which is this conscience of how life originates, how the planet came into being, how the plant and the animal come, and how we out of this animal world is created human being. And of course, in this story, we are a hybrid race of human being, which means that we are made from two different species that together make a third species called the human being. Yeah, and this hybrid, you could also, if you pronounce it in English, hybrid. Hybrid is hybrid. So it's some conscious activity behind creating the human being, and not one boy and one girl who be drinking alcohol in the pub, having one fuck, and after 2 months you get one telephone call that, hey, I'm pregnant. Of that way. It's like, today we come by accident, most of us. Yeah, half of my friends are broken condo.
Right.
Yeah, so, so there is not so much consciousness involved in our time in the creating of human being. And of course, everybody likes to fuck around because it feels good. So I understand very well. I suffered from that. But this was like seen as a sickness before, when you were making children like that before, because it shows your mental incapability of consciously creating one human being that has the best possibility to develop into something so it can have the best life and be an addition to the best life of all other people on the planet. This kind of consciousness is not existing in the world that we live today, and you can see it on the growth of the number of hospitals that we have. And when you go and do your archaeological job, you find out that 5,000 years ago, hospital was not so much existing because we don't find so many of them. And also, I'm sure people could do something. Yeah, if you broke your leg, fix it.
Yeah, it's something I think about a lot is how when we interact with other people, people are mostly good, and that nature is inherent. Yeah, there's this human nature and things, but how to be good is what is the confusion. Yeah. And in the Bock Saga, what I find really profound is that it's about giving. Yeah. And when I was raised in Buddhism, and that is also the key to the difference between a temporary happiness and a fundamental happiness. You can get something new, a new toy, a new car, whatever, and that's a temporary happiness. But this fundamental happiness is only accessible by providing value to someone else.
Service to others.
Then we call it
giving.
Then we call it to have a morale, to have a moral. Yeah. So a moral comes from the root word moral, and moor means mother, and al means all and everybody. So the moral you get from your mother, because the first 7 years of your life you stay by the ladies, by the mama. Yeah? So it's the mamas who implant this morale in you in order for, hey, if older people are speaking with each other, children have to be quiet because they have to listen, because you learn more from listening than from talking yourself. Yeah, so that is like the old way of thinking. Now, that's already one morale. So if I am in Holland and I go on one birthday or seeing your grandfather, I mean, it's like you are in a fucking circus. Yeah, the kids take over the place in 3 seconds and you can't say anything anymore. Yeah, and then you have to find all kinds of excuses and think for how you get rid of them in the garden or go to play outside so that we can have a decent conversation. But if I go in India, for example, and there is something happening and there is sitting 10, 15 people in one house, all these children, they are like very reserved, they are sitting a little bit to the back and they are there with big eyes and they are listening to, what are all these people talking about? And from that, they learn many things, because in that way, you learn naturally. And by us, you have to switch on the TV and show Mickey Mouse. Yeah, that's the only way, Yeah, which is okay.
It's also perverted in modern society, where this idea of children are seen, not heard. It's just it's not understood the way you're describing it. It's just this more of a blind authoritative parenting set that just came out of abused people of World War II and boomers and everything, so it's just it's crazy how that it used to have like a legitimate meaning that was righteous, but now that idea is kind of like, we're talking about all those parents that caused so much trauma in the middle of the 20th century by like silencing their children and never letting them have a voice. It's so inverted because it was never approached the right way. Like I'm going to have a much easier time explaining to my son the nature of Santa Claus because of the history I have in my head now. Versus what happened to me and every other kid, which we had the fucking rug pulled out from under us. Like, none of that's real.
That's it. Do you believe in Santa Claus? No, I don't want to believe in Santa Claus. I want to understand Santa Claus.
Right.
Then you have to know what Santa Claus means or what it is. Yeah, and then you find out that this is all part of sagas and mythology of an more ancient time. If you have to go back 800 years. Yeah.
You said the word moral, and it made me think of the word ethics,
Same thing.
which is etic in root, yes, and then you also get that that sound in aesthetic and majestic.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and you know, the aesthetics have to do with this.
Oh,
gold.
You cut out for
You
some
cut
reason.
out. You cut out.
Yeah.
One more. Dustin, one more time.
I'm on do not disturb. Anyway,
the aesthetics again. Yeah.
Yeah, you get the aesthetics, which is the polished gold, right? And in Buddhism, we have this concept of our inner treasure tower. Yeah, and in aesthetic is the word ethic. Yeah, and then in majestic, which is Maya, you know, the gifts that are being brought up are majestic. Anyway, I just wanted to play with the words there a little bit.
I was also hearing in aesthetic. I mean, it may be just a coincidence, but as, right? It starts off with as. I think it's AES.
In root, it's S aesthetic.
It is aesthetic.
Okay.
It stays the test of time. Tick tock.
Tick tock, correct? Like the clock.
Oh,
tick
wow,
tock,
that was great. Yeah.
So aesthetic means that something is so beautiful, so you don't want to destroy it. That is aesthetic. So we can see that most of the houses that we create today, they are not very aesthetic because they stand for 30 years. Then we break that down and we make a double-sized villa on top of it. And, you know, so like we don't appreciate in the same way the work of people today, because everything you can, you buy one bed in IKEA and you take it 2 times apart in pieces, then you don't never get it together anymore, unless you have a whole bunch of screws and machinery in order to tie the whole thing together again. But it's only a couple of 100 years ago when all the furniture in your house was made by your great-great-great-great-grandfather out of oak wood, so it can exist for 1,000 years if you take care of it.
Yeah, man.
So this whole...
If it's finished, if it has a nice finish.
It's gonna have that nice finish.
Especially if it has a nice finish, like you said. Yeah. So you find that already in aesthetic, and now you have this name. Like how you introduce, like in English you say Your Majesty, in root it's Eers my estate. Now Eers is the same like the king, in Finnish you call him Seppo, and my is the first daughter, so typical of the queen, so we have Eers my aesthetic, which means that it's the king and the queen who represent the aesthetic that is brought up. It becomes brought up to them, because they are representing the Ra, which is the maker of the Ras of human being, of the race of the human being. So there is all this kind of combination with all these different words, what slowly starts to create a picture. It's a puzzle. And when you put all the pieces together, you start to develop one picture. And when you get it, you get one understanding from this picture. So of course they have been making, and we can find it all over the globe when they do their research or their archaeological digging. You find everywhere this kind of really beautiful object where you wonder that how have people 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago been making those things? Yeah. Now much of it is not visible in our time. Everybody's looking for it, but nobody found it. So it is all because we don't have a history that starts at the beginning, like they did in Finland. In every family, in the Sylvester, in the New Year, the last day of the year, you tell them the story of that tree that you have been putting in front or in your house. Yeah, so this tree is hanging full with all kinds of artifacts. Yeah, there's always the man and the woman and the sun and the moon, the North Star, the peak on top of the tree. And there's all this kind, there's an enormous amount of story where they explain how this whole tree of people has been coming into existence by which people, and how did they live, and how did they create the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. So we are only for a limited time here as individuals. But if you go into the mythology, you find out that the titles that belong to these original families, what we had on the planet, that they are not talking about one person, but they are basically talking about, we can say shoemaker. So you have one
Right.
shoemaker family, and now your son becomes shoemaker to take over the job from Papa, and you learn your grandson, and he becomes the next shoemaker.
Baby
So
maker.
yeah, but you have also baby maker. Yeah, and the
Right.
baby maker in the mythology is called Lemminkainen because he is every generation. He is responsible for making every next generation out of which come all people on the planet in one system, which is complicated a little bit to explain. But anyway, there is enough film and video and everything available where we have been explaining this kind of thing in more detail.
I
So
have
yeah.
just a question real quick that I don't think I've ever asked, and I'm not sure if I've ever seen the answer. It's probably somewhere, but is there a way to break Lemminkainen and Väinämöinen down in root, and it like kind of gives like a cryptic equivalent to the Finnish mythology of what these characters supposedly mean to pop culture?
Correct.
Okay. I'm just curious about that. I love the connections.
Mythological figures have never been existed. They are the stories about these persons that had this particular job from generation to generation to generation. So now if we take Ukko Väinämöinen, which is the main character in the story on the masculine side. Yeah. So if you look to his name of Väinämöinen, I know that it comes from the root Väinämöinen. And Väinö is an island which is about 80 kilometers southwest from Hell, inside Uudenmaan, where this Bock family has been living. So this place is called Väinö, and Veen is an associative movie to knowledge, and Vaner, because it's Veen. And Wien is what you call wine, and what in Wien is the capital of Austria. And Wien, it's in all mythological, in all, in the decorative aspect of all these main families in the pantheon all over the planet. So you always find one. You find the oak leaf, of course, but you also find the vines and the grapes. So you always find one class. In root, they call this one class of 12 grapes. Yes, there are always 12. If you go and
the
count,
Venetians.
if you go into the picture, always there is this 12 grape, and this 12 grape are these 12 sons of Ukko, of Väinämöinen, who, as a family, these people stay on Väinö. And now on Väinö is also living Mö, and Mö means virgin. Now the 7 daughters they are making, they are Mö, they are virgin, because they don't make children, these 7 daughters in this family. They have 4 children and 12 sons and 7 daughters, but these 12 and 7, they have titles. So now this Mö, these 7 daughters, so Maya and her 6 sisters, 6 is 6 in root language. So these 6 sisters, these are called Hexor, or witches. They are these girls who are together with their mother, making the Akka is their mother. Yeah, so she is Akka Matar, Lemminkainen. Now you have Ukko Väinämöinen and Akka Matar. Now Ma means the earth, Matar means the woman of the earth. She is like the earth mother. Yeah, so we have the All Father and the earth mother.
Right.
And they are our ancestors. There's a whole story inside that. But go back to Weinemernen. We have now Wien, the island. Yeah, Wien is the sperm, another word for the sperm. Is the island. Is the virgin. E is from which everybody's born. So the men have the E on the outside, and the lady have the E on the inside, because E in root also means in or inside. So now we have B, E, nen. Now the syllable nen in root language means people, because it comes from the Finnish word for people, which is ihminen. Ihminen. And ihme, that is I will do it in English, I-H-M-I. Sorry, I-M-H-M, I-H-M-A.
Okay.
I-H-M-I.
I-H-M-E.
I.
So
I in English.
No, you are right. Sorry, you are right.
Hymen. Are we talking about hymen?
We go too fast. So ihme, so it's ihminen in Baan means people, but it comes from the word ihme ending on a, so I-H-M-A, and ihme means miracle.
Oh.
And nen
holy shit
makes people. So ihminen in Finnish language means wonder or miracle people. Because we are a miracle. Because we are coming out of this hybrid system of one monkey and one nanny goat, where the nanny goat gets this very negative, heavy devil association, and it's all this heathen, ooga booga, blah, 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 blah.
And the ape sticks around in evolution. We get one side of it, but the goat gets suppressed.
We have only one side. We are living with the one-sided story.
The goat gets suppressed, and the goat was the nanny, so it was the feminine. So that gets suppressed as well.
One day we'll find that missing link.
We are looking for the missing link. We already told them 40 years ago, but nobody wants to say that we can be right. Except of the one guy who thinks that we are coming from the pig, because we have so many similarities with the pig. So I explained to this guy who is investigating hybrids there in America. He thinks that we come from the pig. So I explained to him that, look, it's because the pig and the human being have the same mother. Because the pig comes also from the goat, just like we. After this.
That's wild.
That's why, So it's not only wild, it's also why. So now this nen means two North Star, two ends, and means the sound for North Star relating to knowledge. You write knowledge, but you pronounce knowledge. So this N is standing for North Star for knowledge. Yeah. And in between is one A, which you call it E. So then is two North Star and one oak. A means the oak.
Right.
Yeah? So it's always about two people, about one pair, one couple. Yeah, but it can be masculine couple, it can be feminine couple, because different information system in heathen time on the masculine side and on the feminine side. That is why these 23 sounds that go in one ring, they become in the beginning misunderstood by us, because it's exactly the same story for the man and the woman. Both use the same alphabet, but for them this E means inside, and for us this E is outside. Yeah. Actually this 12 o'clock thing is only one symbolic thing, because in the root language we have no W, because W is not a sound. Yeah. It is the E. And if you go outside of the ring, on top, you put the dot on the E, which is symbolizing on the masculine side, the sperm, and on the female side, the sap, and we call it North Star, the knowledge, where we get our knowledge from. Because just as well as we are created from sperm on the physical side, it is the flugia inside the sperm that make the physical body, but it is the Ra inside the sperm and the Ra inside the Mahla, what is the fuel for our brain, which make that our body, after we are born, start to function. We have to take in air. We have to learn to breathe. For that, they smack you on your ass when you get out of the pussy and and then they know, oh, lungs start functioning, and now you start your life within the family of your being. Before that, you are 100% within the, how you call this construct, in the womb of the lady. You are, now you have bred and fed like a fish in the water, where the life also starts in the water, on the ocean, when the earth was created and the sunlight, the sun rays fall on the ocean, on the water, and in that water originates all life on the
The algae.
algae and all. Yeah, so algae and all. Yes.
Seamen.
Yeah, you can be seaman or you can be safe. So it's the C is SE, which is like the children mating system is C, because Lemminkainen, he is Siitaya, Siitaya. In Finnish language, Siitaya, and Sepu, Seppo.
Right.
So you have Sepu and Siitaya. This is these two sides of the Bock family, where the oldest son is representing Se. Also Maya, his oldest daughter, represents Se. And this has associations to the Ra and the moon. Yeah, so they are moon, where the 12th son, because they are share legs Buddha and share legs Vita. And the 12th son, he is Vruchtbaarheid Buddha, the fertility goddess, who go together with one Esbaan, with one Swan, one girl, out of which comes the next generation again. So if you go back to Weinemeunen, it tells inside a story in root and the last syllable, which has Baan association, because of this Ihminen, of Wie-me-inen, which shows you that it is these daughters who together with their mother Akka are making the stories about this Himmelgoed, about this Schulbock and Balder and his father, who have the same position.
Isn't that unbelievable?
That's
like
awesome.
It's so amazing that like in a word is telling the saga, is the whole story, and it's all of our words are this way.
Right.
Now it's the same with Lemminkai. So lem is another word for your breathing whip. So when you
it's
have
a limb, right?
Lem, yeah, a limb in English.
Right.
So lem, it is actually the guy who have a lance for brick. So he because they are all Balbokkar, he is Bal Lance. Lemminkainen is one Bal Lance. So the destiny of nature make that it's the 12th son who have this equipment, which in the Pirouette family is C-formed. They have a C-formed dick, like a saber, like a curved dick. These people, these Lemminkai. So you can see it if you look the statue of Pan from Hellas. So Hellas is this statue, is a mythological statue.
Pull it up, Andy.
It's a
what am I pulling up?
The statue of Pan.
The statue of Pan. The statue of Pan shows that we are one combination of one monkey and one nanny goat, because his leg, he has this typical Bock leg with Bock feet. He has these wooden clogs under his feet, what make him to look like one Bock. And from his head down to the back, he has the skin of this is not it, this is the sun. But anyway, doesn't matter. He has over his head and onto his back, he has the skin of one monkey, and his tail is symbolizing his breeding equipment. But he is standing there with standing brick, which has one C4. If you look and you find the picture from this man standing.
I'll have to figure it. Yeah.
So now that is one lamb, and now lamb in en is E's knowledge, and Cain. Cain is a famous story from the Bible. You have Cain and you have Abel.
Oh.
Cain and Abel.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh my God, where did I not see that?
Lem in Kainen. It's again this Nen because he is making all the people on the planet in one system of Pirouette, Roux, et Yal, et Kal, et Trailhead. Yeah, where the buck stops in the Trailhead because the Trailhead boys are like the grandson of a grandfather and a grandmother. So we always lived in 3 generations together. Yeah, we are Yal, Kal, and Trail, which means the grandparents, the parents, and the children.
Right.
Yeah, who of course become older. But now these boys, they don't make any more children because they don't need to make more children. They have enough children with this Yalet, Kalet, Trailhead that are sons and daughter of the Rabbi, the Maherra, who is sitting in the castle in the center of the ringland, from where they are all made, because this Rabbi with Yal lady made Yal boy and Yal girl, and this Yal man make with Kar lady, Carmen, and Kar girls, and this Kar men are with the Trail lady making Trail boy and Trail girl. So the girls were always choosing one man from one caste higher within this big family, and in that way they were breeding up, not breeding down, like we have been doing since we became Catholic. So that's why our race is collapsing.
Right. So I don't want to cut us off too soon, but if we have any last thoughts, we need to get to them because we probably only have about 10 more minutes I can do today, unfortunately, and hopefully this can be
good enough.
Yeah, I mean, this has been an excellent talk.
So far, so good. So if you have something that you want to know or talk about, give to me because you give me one word and I just blast on.
Heck yeah.
And you become a bit silent because it all needs explanation, Andy. This is my problem a bit. I basically don't like to make this kind of monologic type of thing, but we need to create like one small group who know a little bit the ins and outs of the story so that you can go deeper into all the aspects of it.
Absolutely, and I encourage that as much as possible. Like we love your explanations, and we need these long form explanations for all these details, and we really appreciate you coming on and
no problem,
answering all these questions and listening to our perspective.
Ior was sitting there. Look, he born in this family, so he doesn't know better from when he was small. So of course they have been sitting. He was every day. They had to listen 2 hours a day, and they were just doing it like this, like I'm doing now. It's exactly the same, but 2 hours every day, 20 years long, so that we have a long time to go. If you want to go in all the detail of the story.
Yeah, I just since we only have a couple minutes, a real quick one is that I was just reminded of yesterday in the chat was Pippi Longstocking is the author of the books of Pippi Longstocking, which my parents or my mom and all of her sisters loved Pippi Longstocking, enjoyed her books and everything. Turns out the author was best friends with Ior Bock's mother, Rhea.
Yeah, Astrid Lindgren. Yeah, she's been staying in the same place like me in Akampesa.
And so she's a Swedish author and wrote the basis of Pippi Longstocking.
She is a root author from Udenma, whose family in the past has been going over to Sweden because Sweden is full of these root people who, because they could communicate with the Swedish, they usually get high position within the bureaucracy. And now this girl born in that family of Lindgren, which is the Linde, the Lind is one tree, and Gren means one branch of the tree. So she is Astrid Lindgren, which is 100% Oedenma family name from after
Wow.
That's so wild.
And the basis of the story was based off of Ior Bock's mother. Pippi Longstocking is
yes, no,
Florida?
yeah. The mother, but also the sister, and
Right,
also Raquel, because she was she has been going with her father, with Knut Victor, on the boat to Europe and to China, with sailing boat. In
this story, in the Pippi Longstocking, I just like watched a few minutes of the movie yesterday, and even one part of it, she makes up a word and then goes around and tells people like, "Oh, do you have this?" You know, and it was oh gosh, what was the word? Oh my God, I'm blanking on it. Whatever. But anyway, and then the father is a sailor, which same with Ior Bock's father was also a sailor, and yeah, and so it seems like this basis of the story is around this Bockstrom family.
Yeah,
Pippi Longstocking, which was translated into 76 different languages all around the world.
Yeah,
and so this is a story. The Pippi Longstocking story is something that went all around the world, just as this family did.
Same family, same. No, it was a French. You know, she couldn't talk about the mythology with her. They talked to nobody, but she of course could give little hints or winks for to get inspiration.
Right.
They was into all kinds of these female stories that we still have to bring to the surface. But anyway, nice.
Well, it's interesting. I was talking to Dustin before you came into the chat earlier about I forgive me, I can't remember his name, but there's somebody that's making or wants to make a really detailed Bock Saga documentary, and he says he's one of those root-speaking natives of Helsinki, and it's just really fascinating that might come to light at some point. It's just really cool. I can't remember.
Yuan? Is it Yuan?
I'm gonna have to find his name, and because I've talked to him.
Yuan Riekberg. He has just been making one book also, what I haven't read.
Oh, okay.
Which talks something about the paradise and Uko bringing the good life, something like this.
Yeah, he was telling me about how the root-speaking families, the ones from the old ways, kind of became like the innkeepers of like the European tradition. And I thought that was so fascinating. I may have brought this up before on previous Bock Saga podcasts, but just the idea that we have so many horror movies over here in the West that are centered around European inns and hostels, like stay away, they're evil. Everything bad happens at these hostels and everything. It's really interesting when you find out. It's like, oh wow, but then Bock Saga is kind of connected to this innkeeper tradition. It's like, oh my God, it's so crazy.
It's true, you know. It's like yesterday you posted this thing on what's his name, this guy, Billy Carson.
Yeah,
he's making his alien story.
He's doing a good job of it too. Billy Carson's famous.
He tells really nice, you know, but you see exactly where he goes off. Yeah, because he is going into abstractions totally. But then I started to read the comments of the people who listen to Billy Carson. You know, they find it great. You know, we should just push the link for you look into Bock Saga.
I
And you
do.
can get,
I do often.
yeah, me too. I do
And
it
unfortunately,
sometimes.
one of his colleagues, and I don't care about calling people out about this because honestly, at this point, it needs to gain traction one way or the
Of
other
course,
just to
of
get more
course,
eyes on it. So his
of course.
colleague, and he's a respectable author. I like him a lot. He's just from a state above me in New Hampshire. Matthew LaCroix. He's written a lot of great books. I have a few of
Right.
them in that right
Nice.
there. But him and Billy Carson wrote a new one together. And I don't think Matthew necessarily is married to the extraterrestrial idea like
No,
Billy Carson is. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But it's like, no disrespect to these
no,
gentlemen
no,
who are
no, no, no,
clearly
not at
doing a
all.
lot of
Not
work,
at all.
but they are now leading a sort of charge.
Yeah.
And not just them, but there is this narrative that this is our big moment in humanity, that we're going to get our ancient alien history back finally.
Correct.
And we're
Yeah,
going to
we
finally
need
find out our starseed
our
origins.
ancestry.
And so they're
Our
giving it
ancestry.
to us like it's our underdog story.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I'm worried that without the saga getting further fucking out there, that they're going to bury our ancestors forever.
Yeah, that's the whole. They do it not consciously, I'm sure, because they don't know about Bock Saga. Because the minute you know about Bock Saga, you can't say one of these things that they are. So
Undoes
it's
so
very,
many things.
because you are again starting to go to some kind of superior thing. And this is just the problem of the time we live in, that all these different arts of people that live around this planet who have their own culture, all of them are superior to all the other cultures. All of them.
Right.
No exception. The Christian are superior to the Muslim are superior to the Hindu are superior to everybody because they got all the books. And like that,
Right.
you can go on and on to Japan, to China, to Israel, to all places on the planet. All of them are superior because they all found it out.
Right.
Yeah, but that what they found out become presented in stories that have a high Billy Carson perspective in a way because of the misunderstanding about mythology, what I tried to explain in the beginning of the session.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And you've
the
done a well job
mythology.
of doing it.
The mythology is the secret of when you find out that these mythological names like Weinemörder, Ilmariner, Ilmatar, Lemminkai, Jozef, they are all names of generation after generation of people having the same profession. And their profession in their family was make children. So the whole story of Bock Saga is actually how do you make children in a natural way. Now we are not going to live like before 50 or before second Ragnarok in the ice time of Outlanders.
Paradise time is past.
That's past, but we can take the positive from the past and use it as a form of thinking about how we can get rid of all this hospital on the planet. Because I know that if you would follow from tomorrow the style of how you make children, as described in the Bock Saga, in 2-3 generations you can close all hospitals because we don't need any anymore. And man, then we save a lot of dough. And we could invest it in something else, like for example, cleaning up the planet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because klimaat comes from klimax, cleaning, clitoris. This is all one enormous female story who is the personification of Mother Earth. It's only through them that the next generation comes on the planet. So there is all this klimaat means maat is food, and clean is when you are tickling yourself on this ladies' department. Because they get their maat from cleaning. Out of the pussy is coming the sap, which is good for the brain. Now, if we already start with this kind of thing, that hey, you don't have to be ashamed if you drink your own sperm or you drink your own magla, or this squirting story, what we have, by which they could fill vases of magla and share them between all these ladies who are supporting a mother for putting on new people on the planet. And at the same time, they take in the wisdom that they hold in themselves. So you don't have to go to university to become wise. You only have to drink from yourself. It's basically that.
Well put.
Well, coming from the well.
Right,
Very,
coming from the well.
very, very, very well.
Well sprung.
Well said.
Michel, thank you so much for joining us again. It's been too long. I'm so glad to see
Hey,
you
no
so
problem.
and I'm
No
so glad
problem.
to see you so active in our Telegram. We really appreciate
Yeah,
all the help.
in the beginning I let it go a little bit, because I see, okay, they feel to play because they find out. So hey, I said let them play, and I
Right,
find out that
absolutely.
okay, now they started to get a little bit off the planet in between, so you find out that hey, I have to try to put some sense in this enthusiasm of starting to play with the story. But
Right.
we did it exactly the same in 84, 85, 86, 87.
Piece by piece, right?
And Jim was great in that department. He made us realize so many things out of the English language.
Oh man.
I'm using much of his madness also, but I have to go and put it on how it is, what is the meaning in root and in barn, and then come to English. And so
Right.
from English, you have to go the other way around. You have to look what is it in root, what is it in barn, and what is that word, what we have in English, what is it in root and what is it in barn. Then you get three words if you speak about one word in these three different languages. And when they all have the same meaning, you know that it's original.
Absolutely.
For a future discussion and dialogue, I would like to go over the astrology.
I know we meant to do that today. I'm sorry, Dustin.
And break it down. No. It's a big. It deserves its own thing because
it's not my department. I know a little bit,
but at the same time, you can take a word like Libra and you can break it down into its parts and really get the meaning out of it as well. And it would be fun to have you on the spot explore these words without
Oh yeah, you take them out in English, and I try to find them what they would be in root. But then it's better when I have one root speaking person around at the same time, because then you get straight away the correct pronunciation also. Because the root, the Swedish, the written Swedish is as close as we can get to root in our time, because the root. They don't have this pronunciation for the Swedish. So many times I think they are spelling Swedish word wrong, but I can't be sure because maybe there is a reason why they are doing that kind of thing. But that only we can find that only out after we open the temple and we have access to the door out.
Damn right.
Then I know the written story of how it was original.
That's another topic we did not get into at all, and we can't. I don't have any time, but definitely later we'll talk about maybe some updates with what's going on with that property and the new ownership and all that. But thank you, Michel and Dustin. Any last words? Thank you again for being here, of course, man.
No
Bock
problem.
Saga X on Twitter.
Yeah, why not?
I just share the videos, everything I can find on the internet that of Bock Saga stuff. I just reshare that. I don't put any of my own play on there or anything.
If you go into Ananto's site for the Telegram,
yes,
he has a list with about 200 film, video, tape, stuff, you get it straight from the origin and maybe from Jim and from me.
Yes, the problem is they're not in English.
Not all of them, but there are an enormous amount that are in English, and there are many that have been already subtitled also.
Yeah, you could see Michel talk for like 7 straight hours in English on many videos, even just going to bocksaga.info. And, hopefully in the future, I know I brought it up to you guys in the chat. I would love for us someday to be able to remaster some of that footage because some of it is hard to take in for the layperson that just doesn't have the attention span. You know what I mean?
But
no disrespect to them.
Like we start to be a quite big bunch of people. There is a Finnish channel. On Telegram, there is the German one, and there is now the English one, and we have all the stuff from before, and there all the people are only talking and asking questions about this subject. And okay, it's a bit of a hassle still, but I don't know, he got it kind of organized in a
He does.
system so that one is following the next one, the next one, the next one. And in the meantime, there is all kind of people busy with different tape of trying to get subtitle under them and all this kind of thing. It is going on,
Heck
but it's a
yeah.
big job. Because
is.
Ior also talk like 150,000 miles an hour. So it's like, he can go very slow, but he can also blast there, then you sit there for an hour. And when you get what he's saying, I know that new people, they will not get all of it. But
Right.
those that are in English, when you listen and you have a basic concept of the saga in your head, every time you listen, you find more.
Absolutely. It's a living story.
Yeah.
It's a living
Yeah,
language,
it's alive. It's 100% alive.
I hope that one day all those different telegrams, all the different areas of the world that we're kind of working on this same project, if you will, hopefully someday we can all get together.
Of course. No,
and shake each other's hands and say hi.
When the temple open, we're going to have a big party.
That's going to have to happen. But remember, we can't publicize it. Who are we going to tell? We don't want to.
No, we don't give a shit, we just go on, I get used to it, that nothing is happening in 7 days. So for me, there is no problem. I sit already 40 years, in the next month, 1 month more, then it's 24 of February, then this story has been going for 40 years. So far, I can talk about it for years, but I haven't seen anything. So it must be my understanding of the story what made that I'm still in there. Unless I'm completely stupid, which is also okay, But,
well, that's the thing about the saga, man. Like the more people that look into it, at least long enough to give it a chance, they don't go away.
No, that's it. Once you are hooked, you don't get out of this story anymore.
Sounds like a cult.
It's that they tried on us also,
Oh, I know they did. I know. Man. It's so sad. It's so pathetic.
Sounds like a culture.
It is culture, and it is the things I have been reading about myself in the different newspapers in Sweden and Finland and Denmark, and the things. One story is more crazy, but they got more and more quiet as the years are passing, and today they are not saying anything. Because they are just as curious as we are. Because how crazy can you be?
Yeah, and there's too much that has been brought up as an idea and confirmed in many ways since Ior passed, and things that Ior did not himself bring into. Once you have the keys, you can keep it go. You can look through history wherever you want and start to find connections. It's unreal. But listen, I gotta go, gentlemen. This has been beautiful, and everyone listening and watching, thank you for hanging in with us for over 2 hours of this deep conversation. I really appreciate you guys being here, and let's keep this going. And please, I'll put all the links to everybody and our Telegram and Ananto's Telegram. I wasn't even aware of the Finnish one. Naturally, that makes sense. I'll be following that one and sharing that one as well.
There is mostly in Finnish, but there is also things in English there, because people find out that there is also foreigner.
And that's 3 different different areas of the internet.
Yeah.
Different sites that not a lot of our algorithms will show us versus their. So
Yeah. No.
All right.
Let's go for the
thank
positive.
you, Andy, for making this series too, and continuing to give a platform to sharing these stories and things.
Got it, man.
Very good.
Hell yeah. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Inviting me. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yes. Some of the best people I've met. Shout out to Thor. Shout out to Bruce, who's made he's trying to do what Ananto did a little bit in our the English version. He's kind of like doing all these different categories, and it's excellent stuff. So, all right, everybody. Much love. See you next time.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, vegetarian. Enough, I get the point.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature. And you will atone.
What do we know?
What do we know? If I know what we know, then I can tell you what we know, and if someone else knows, okay? I mean...